Welcome to the First Look seminar, and boy, do we have a big weekend in store for you. Gino Bacola, Santa Anita Derby Day. We've got 12 big races, first post noon. Looking forward to it, and let's get the ball rolling. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, good. But Santa Anita, we've got the Santa Anita Derby in race number 6, and then immediately following that, it's a mandatory payout in the pick 6. So just a huge day, top to bottom, and some great undercard stakes races. But there are 3 Kentucky Derby prep races this weekend. So Keeneland has opening weekend. They have an all-stakes pick 5 that ends with the Bluegrass right in the middle of their card. Aqueduct has the Wood Memorial and the Grade 1 Carter, and then 2 other graded stakes races. They have 4 graded stakes on their card. So you put the 4 with the 5. Santa Anita's got a few more. We've got the Pick'em contest. They're back Saturday and Sunday this week, free to enter. And these ones have baseball, basketball, and horse racing all combined on these prop contests. Coast to coast pick 5. I mean, just dangerous weekend with a lot of opportunities out there.
That doesn't even include the Masters, which is going on as well. Seminar Skip, he is hurting a little bit from the Kings loss the other night to the Edmonton Oilers. Skipper, you're still representing. It's time to get down and dirty. Well, you got one more game till the playoffs?
We got 3 more games, actually 4 more games, but we got a big game tonight against the Golden Knights. So I'm ready for it. I'm geared up. I wish I was there, but we got a big weekend ahead of us with horse racing. Like Gino said, Saturday is going to be crazy. There's going to be races going off every 10, 15 minutes and good races. And it's going to be a little bit of a headache, but we got to get our work done and be prepared. And hopefully we'll all make some money.
Speaking of headaches, a man who's joining us now who does everything up at Golden Gate and the track announcer. He does have a headache, but look at gentlemen, he looks like he's in a hospital bed. Matt, still joining us. You're a little bit under the weather, Matt. How you feeling, buddy?
I'm feeling good. I think when you guys are here and we're talking about racing, it rejuvenates me. So I'll be good to go tomorrow. Don't worry about that for Golden Gate. But the focus isn't on Golden Gate for the next, 45 minutes or so. The focus is on Santa Anita, our brother track from the north, and it's going to be a great weekend. If you're a racing fan, this is the type of day, a Saturday. These are the types of days we wait for and we are hungry for, and we're getting it.
One of the best weekends of the year, that's for sure, like Gino touched on with everything going on. And at Santa Anita, we're going to talk about the pick 6, but we are actually going to kick it off first with the race leading up to that, which is the Santa Anita Derby. And Gino, before we get into that, the weather's been tough, but here it's Chamber of Commerce weather. You've got mid-70s, perfect conditions. Couldn't be any better day for racing at Santa Anita.
It should be awesome. And now keep in mind, with these races, you have to remember that some of these horses need the points to get into the Kentucky Derby. Others don't. A horse like Practical Move, who's been just freaking impressive as can be in basically all of his career, but the last 2 races back to back have been awesome. He doesn't really need to win this race. He can be content with a nice second or third here and not necessarily have to crank himself to try to win this race. Horses like Go Rocket Ride and Skinner, on the flip side, they need these points. So you might see these horses exerted a little bit more. Chappie, the way that I look at this race, I think it's a really good spot for Go Rocket Ride. I was so impressed with his start last time out. It was career start number 2. He stretched out from 6 furlongs to 1 mile and a 16th. He had a fast start. He ended up sitting second in the 2 path, about a length off. He was in between horses. He moved to the lead. He looked to be all in. He looked like he was done. And then all of a sudden, he shifts down to the rail and he just keeps coming while a couple horses back up. You could tell that he's still figuring it out. He's got some ability. And now I think with the time in between start 2 to start 3, he's going to grow up. I was curious. Did you watch his race, his workouts?
Well, I was going to bring that out up next because I was going to bring Skip involved in that because there's some curious moments in that last work. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm not a workout expert. I loved the 2-back work. Thought it was awesome. And then did not like the recent one as much. That was just me. I thought they seemed very different, but the way he's going into this race, from start 2 to start 3, I think he has the most upside. I think he needs the race. I think he's going to sit a really nice trip throughout. I really like him in this spot.
Skipper, I'm going to get to another horse that I am interested in, but when we get to Go Rocket Ride, first of all, and then you can get into who you like, what Gino was bringing up on XBTV, obviously very talented. He was throwing his head around an awful lot. Still seems very green to me off that last workout. What are your thoughts on Go Rocket Ride and then the rest of the field?
No, you're right. That last workout was the way it was throwing its head around, still very, very green, still learning, a ton of talent. And it showed at its maiden breaker in that last race. I'm like Gino. I thought that last race was very impressive, just how it dove down to the inside and kept coming. First time going long against grade 2 company. I was very impressed with that horse. Practical Move's been very, very impressive also. But like Gino says, they're not going to go to the they're not going to empty out the tank for this. They already have the points. They're already in the Derby. So, they would like to win. Of course, it's a Santa Anita Derby. It's so prestigious, and, they would love to win it. It's, obviously 750,000. You're not going to be not trying. But that being said, I just think that horse is going to good race. I'm going to try to beat Practical Move. I've been a big fan of National Treasure, and the way it broke its maiden, then it ran real good against Cade Rock in the American Pharoah, and I really liked the way they ran in the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Juvenile, breaking from the 10th, way outside there. I like that race. Forte, we know how good Forte is, coming back this year and 2 for 2 and just won the Florida Derby last week. I think that race last time is going to do this horse a world of good. I don't know why they missed the Sham, and it's got a break in the work from February 2nd, February 19th, and then it doesn't work against till March 14th. That's what scares me with this horse. I hate seeing that break. That's almost it's a month break.
Yeah.
So you don't know how ready this horse is going to be. I'm sure it's ready, but it's not geared up 100%. Obviously missing the works. I like Skinner. I think Skinner's going to get a great trip in here. Yeah, and I think this horse is going to come. He ran sneaky good in that San Felipe, I thought, too. So I like Skinner in this spot.
Well, just because you mentioned it before I get to you, Maddie, my top pick is National Treasure. And that's a horse that not only needs to win, but if you go back, we all talk about the XBTV work on March 26th. He was clearly better than Reincarnate in that work. And I think this horse is working well. National Treasure, I think, is the sleeper in this field, is going to kind of get overlooked by the other three we have mentioned. Matt, in your hospital bed, what's your top play? As we've gone, actually, we all have three top picks differently so far. So, Maddie, that's what makes these shows great. What's your opinion, Matt, in the Santa Anita Derby presented by Run Happy?
If we all had the same opinions, there'd be no reason to have a show, right? And by the way, I will be finding a second lease of life here when we start talking about the pick six. I'm going to toss the pillow, get up, and get really rejuvenated, ready to rumble for that pick six. But here's the thing that my dad taught me, and he's a great handicapper, but he says, don't try to pick the Derby winner in these preps. Pick the winner of this race. For example, I think Skinner is a very interesting Derby horse. I think going a mile and an eighth against these speedy types at Santa Anita, maybe it might give him a little bit too much to do. I would want to pick a horse like him in this race, but I just think you need a little more tactical speed in a race like this. And you know what? I hate to be a chalk guy. If Practical Move was trained by Bob Baffert, no offense to Timmy Actine, who I think is a great trainer, but we all know how it is. Baffert gets bet in these 3-year-old races. This horse would be even money. And I think that he's legit. I think he's really good. I'm going to pick him. I think he's going to win. I am, like you guys said, he doesn't need to win this race, but I think he's going to get a great trip. I loved his last race. I thought that last race against a good field, he had no reason to run the race that he did unless he's that good, and I was very, very impressed. But I agree with pretty much all of what you all are saying. I think Go Rocket Ride's second time routing, third time out. This horse has a ton of reasons to improve and take a step forward. And I think National Treasure, this horse, he ran a little bit of a clunker in the Sham, but he ran third to Forte, and we know how good Forte is. He's going to be ready to go. So I think we're all on the same page that the 4 contenders that we all like, they all seem to be the main contenders, and if one of them shows up with their very best, they'll probably win. But I think Practical Move's the real deal, and I think he can win again.
And Chappie, just to kind of point out about a national treasure who it was a foot bruise that they said is what missed a month of training for him. And like, he was a Baffert for all of those races, so he didn't grab any points along the way. So he needs at least the points. And I'm, as a gambler, I want him to run second or third in here and get in, because I would love to play him in the Derby as like an under the radar horse who people might kind of like play off because he hasn't really won a lot of big races. But I think I've mentioned this before. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Medina Spirit. Like, he's just really honest and he's under the radar, and he can continue to get better with distance. So this is a good race because it's not a field of 12, 13, but you do have like 4, it feels like, legitimate contenders that we're talking about. And then maybe 1 or 2 wild cards. Like, I Don't Get It isn't too far off of these horses. Like, if he were to take another step forward, he's run pretty well. And, you know, we really don't know how good the horse from Japan is, Mandarin Hero, who was a pretty good second in that last effort and rattled off 4 wins before that. So very good at Santa Anita Derby.
2 things, and then we'll move on to, we got to still get to the pick 6. We're not even there yet, but you know, like you said, with Practical Move, Matt made a good point. If this is a Bob Baffert horse, it would be all the rage. Think about before Saturday, Practical Move was clearly the second choice going into the Derby behind Forte. So, you know, maybe a couple horses have moved up because Practical Move hasn't ran yet, but and so 85% might be just good enough. When we get to real quickly on the Japanese horse, I happened to pull in the parking lot of Santa Anita this morning, and I ran into Toby Terrell. So I just asked him if he had a look at Mandarin Hero, and he said, yes. How do you throw these Japanese off? But he said, I think this horse is probably second, third tier type of Japanese type of horse. So, you know, we've seen all these Japanese horses come over, run lights out. So that's kind of the unknown. But an interesting race to start off pre-pick 6. So let's move on to the pick 6 now. Mandatory payout, Skipper. So the pool, what do we say the pool's going to be, Gino? Around $3 million? Is that what they're expecting?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, I mean, a lot of money all around tomorrow being played, a lot of focus. And with this being like a later post, it's nice. You'll get a lot of money from folks that are playing some of the earlier stuff early in the day. So 3 to 3.5. I think
somewhere in there. Yeah. All right, Skip. So we start out, we're going 6.5 furlongs to Echo Eddie. It's nice seeing the Calbreds here. And is this just a 2-horse race with Kangaroo Court and Bus Buzz, or you're looking elsewhere?
You know, those 2 were very good, and Kangaroo Court was very, very impressive last time. It was drawn on the outside of Bus Buzz, which I favor Bus Buzz now. That's a huge advantage when you're drawn outside of the other horse. You know, especially when you got speed, you can either go and break good and kind of tighten things up, or if the other horse breaks, you're sitting right outside in a better spot. So, but I don't think it's a 2-horse race. I really like the way Left Hand Man won last time. And Glatt does a real good job. This is a Barton thoroughbred horse. We know about Barton thoroughbreds because of the radio show. They're a sponsor of it. And
as well as Kangaroo Court.
And Kangaroo Court also. You're right. But I like the way that Left Hand Man won. And I will be using that on my ticket. And Austonian didn't run bad either.
I believe Austonian is now scratched after the morning lines came out. Yeah.
Okay. I don't got to worry about that one.
I was with you there, but Austonian is now out. Yeah.
You know, I want to mention one other one, and that is a 7, Closale. This horse, the last 2 races where it broke its maiden and came right back and beat winners, I like the way that it did it. Those were good races. A couple horses came back and won out of those. Yo Time, Sassy Natures came back both to win. This horse is drawn the best of the horses, best of the bunch on the outside here. And I know he's coming off a little bit of a layoff, and that's okay. You know, that it doesn't bother me. I love the post position. Ian Crueljack's winning at 35% for the meet, and that horse is going to be on my ticket also. So no, I don't think it's just a 2-horse race.
Well, I'm going to touch on this with you, Maddie, on Clouseau. We'll get to first. Clouseau is one of those horses that broke from the inside all 4 times, now gets an outside draw, but both wins were on Lasix and now is back off Lasix. How much stock do you put into something like that, Matt?
I do put stock into it. I always look and see how horses are running with or without Lasix. I think it's very important, and we've seen time and time again horses that they run well with the Lasix and then they get off of it and they can't duplicate those runs. This horse is an interesting puzzle. I like him as well, Skip. I'm with you. I think he's going to get a great trip. Yeah. I think there's good amount of pace in here from the stock and run on. The question is he running well because of the Lasix, or is he running well because he's in a dirt sprint? Because his 2 turf races to kick off his career, he routed ones, didn't run so great on the turf there. He tried turf first out. You can be forgiving of a horse first out, and it looks like he's a better horse sprinting on the dirt. So that's a question mark. He's my top pick in the race. I'm going to take a shot with him. And I also am using that Golden Gate horse, Clovis Connection. This horse is better than people think he is. He's very much under the radar. He's always been very well regarded. Last time out, I called the race, so I would remember. He was geared down in the late stages. I mean, totally wrapped up. They saved something for this race. I spoke to a clocker who's been clocking for about 1.5 years. So here's some inside info. He says, I've been clocking for about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. I've seen 3 workouts in my time here so far where I said, wow, this horse looks great. And he was one of them working that bullet the other morning. He said he looked fantastic. He's going to get the right trip. Obviously he's never tried dirt. He's never had kickback before. He's by Vronsky. The Vronsky seem to do anything, but you don't really know until they try, because Vronsky himself was a turf horse. A bottom side of the pedigree says this horse should like the dirt. I think he's going to get a good setup, and I know Blaine really thinks this horse is a nice horse, and I think Blaine thinks he fits. So I do believe Kangaroo Court, I think he's the best horse in the race, and I think he's a really talented Calbred sprinter, but there's a good amount of pace in here, and I'm going to look for someone off the pace, and I'm with you, Skip. I don't think it's a 2-horse race either.
Yeah, and like you said, Kangaroo Court drawn inside is going to have to go now, Gino. And that's some good inside information there on the 4-horse Clovis Connection with the terrific work and Matt calling the race geared down. Gino, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm using the 4, absolutely. As Matt pointed out, just if the 2 and 3 are going after each other, and then possibly even the 5 left-hand man, Clovis Connection sits a great trip. What I like about him, so he's got a little foundation also because he's been a mile. So he's been beyond 6.5 furlongs, which is great. He's proven that he can pass horses. He can sit off horses. We've already seen him do that. But it's not as if he's a slow horse. He has enough speed to where he won't get outrun by these other fast horses. So he can keep himself in striking range and then still be able to finish. Something I point out a lot, you see it right now with how good the racing quality at Turfway Park has gotten over the last few years. The synthetic speed figures sometimes are just a little low. Like overall on synthetic tracks, you're not going to see as high of speed figures as you are on the dirt. But a lot of times those horses can still compete. Watch those horses from Turfway that go out and their figures are a little bit lower. And the same thing happens when horses come from Golden Gate sometimes and their figures are a tad low and they get dismissed. This horse fits in here quite a bit. I do think Kangaroo Court is the real deal. I'm going to probably just use 2-4 for me because I think he's legitimate. Keep in mind that last race for him, that was off a long layoff.
Yeah.
And Buzz got the lead and opened up 2. It looks a little deceiving on the running line, but Buzz got a beautiful trip, got the jump on him, and now has to go another 1/2 furlong. And Kangaroo Court has the benefit of the race under his belt. This is a horse they're talking about running in the Pat Day Mile on the undercard of the Kentucky Derby. They think that much of this horse to go and try open company with him, which, he ran a really big 95 buyer speed figure in winning. He's a legitimate horse. I'm going to use 2-4, I think, to get started.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you guys there. It's kind of Kangaroo Court single, or you got a spread. And I don't think it's going to be so easy just because of the draw. You guys said that the 2 and the 3 could hook up early and then anything can happen. All right, let's move on to the second leg. We're going 1 1/8 here on the turf allowance. I had a couple ideas on some horses. I'm giving a big look to the 8 Coalinga Road in here. If you just draw a line through the dirt races, this horse is very talented on turf. Has ran some bang up races. Last time we're going back to the workouts again, but and I know sometimes we're going dirt works with turf horses, but worked March 27th with Dicey Mochara and worked very well. I think this horse is going to work out a terrific trip. Always runs his race on the turf. And I give that a horse a big look, and I also give a big look to the 3-horse Silver Surfer.
We're on the same page here. Those are my
yeah.
top. Those are my top 2. Just second start back for Silver Surfer. There's not much other early pace in here either. Maybe the one Balladeer goes. I could see this horse being forwardly placed and sitting a very nice trip. Yeah. And if you think about the time off, Silver Surfer was off from the end of his 2-year-old year to the start of his 4-year-old year. So that's a lot of growth and development time for this horse. He has the right to take another step forward. I like that he wasn't rushed back for his second start off the bench either. He's had plenty of time after that race to recover and to build up some stamina to take another step forward here. Chappie, you're talking Coalinga Road. So his last turf race, he wins. He beats Alligato, who outfinishes Agatino. Then look at some of the other turf races that we see from him. He's behind Prince of Bama. That's a multiple graded stakes winner. He's behind Air Force Red. That's a grade 2 winner. He's behind Motorius. That's a grade 3 winner. Like, those are legitimate races. Those are stakes races disguised as allowance races. So he's faced some top tier company also. Those are my top tier. Maybe a fun long shot or two in here. Lost in Space is a little bit intriguing to me. I wouldn't be shocked to see him run a little bit better in here. And, the 6-7 Wonders showed speed out of nowhere last time out, was always coming from way out of it. Can maybe they sandwich his running style and instead of being on the lead, just sit a little bit closer? But I think 3-8 for me in a lot of spots.
All right, I'm going to go back to Skip then, because I know Skip's been chasing 7 Wonders for quite some time. Are you off the 7 Wonders train, Skip? All completely different tactics the last time, like Gino said. And, win a wicked first half and still almost won that race, adding the blinkers 2 back. What's your top pick here?
Yes, I like 7 Wonders again, but it kind of scares me. Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but why does Dettori get off and ride the 5? I just thought that was, that makes me nervous a little bit, but I thought this race was really, really tough. Man, I can't make heads or tails. I like a few horses. I like 7 Wonders on top. I didn't really like it going to the lead last time. And they went quick, going 1.25 miles. Look at 46, 110. They're moving right along going that far and still held on and ran a good race. It will improve off that race. I don't think this horse will be on the lead, but now we know that he's got some tactical speed where he won't be far off like he used to be early in his career. He was way back. I got to use Reckless Spirit because Dettori's staying with this horse, and this horse has won 4 times. I know it's out of 26 starts, but when I see more than 1 win, I like it. There's a couple of McCarthy's horses that are interesting to me. I usually don't like going with 3-year-olds at this time of the year against older, but I tell you what, the way that Genius Jimmy won 2 back, I was on him that day, and boy, that was very, very impressive to me. The races, 2 races before that, the mile at Del Mar and the mile at Santa Anita, those both, he had brutal trips in both of those. And not brutal where they're going to put it in the form or anything. Brutal where you see with your eye when you watch the replays. Sneaky trips that just like, wow, that horse got in a lot of trouble, or horses dove inside and he went real wide outside. So he flattened out a little bit. It just, I love those 2 replays, and that's why I was on him 2 back at 12, almost 13 to 1. I got to use that horse. Like I said, I don't like going with 3-year-olds at this time of year against older, but Genius Jimmy is definitely going to be on my ticket. So my top horses are the 5 Reckless Spirit, 7 Wonders, and Genius Jimmy. And I might even go a little deeper than that because, like I say, I think this race is really tough. You talked me into Coalinga Road. Gino might have talked me into Silver Surfer. Matt, what are you going to talk me into?
This is a very competitive race, and I think John Whitey's a great morning line maker, as we all know. I think he tabbed it right. I mean, 7-2 morning line favorite. It's that type of race, right? And obviously Phil Diamato, he's going to get play. I prefer Silver Surfer out of the 3 horses he has in here. I think that last race wasn't bad. He went to the lead, faded a little bit. Maybe this horse wants a target to chase. He's lightly raced in America, but he's got some talent. He was in stakes races as a younger horse. I think they're going to try to rate this horse and maybe second start off the break. Phil Diamato's very good second start off the break. I think that maybe this horse will run very, very well. So Silver Surfer's my top pick. I'm going to stick Agatino on there. He's 12-1 on the morning line. I don't know what kind of price we're going to get with him. There are reasons to believe that this horse needs to improve to win, because last time out he got a perfect trip and he just did not fire. Problem is, you look at some of his past races and it says in the comment lines, brutal trip, lacked room, steadied early, lacked room, off slow. I mean, this horse has just never found a good trip until last time out.
It was so funny. It was so funny. I was all over him last time, because of that. And I'm like, man, he is going to win this race. He's sitting in a perfect trip and just it was almost so so bad that you can't believe it, because he's been so competitive with less than optimum trips for so long.
Yeah. And I don't know if this horse is maybe one of these horses. He's from Europe. He's a European. Maybe he wants to be covered up and he wasn't last time. And that's sort of the vibe I get. That's a problem, because the turns are tight here in America on the turf, and you have to have a little luck when you're covered up. We all know that. He's drawn outside. That's another thing. If he wants to be covered up, how are you going to get him covered up? But I like that Pratt's hopping aboard. It's interesting because his 2 and 3 trips, both which were horrendous trips, he was racing over a good turf course. He's not today, he's not projected to be. But the thing is, you look at his race 4 starts ago on a firm course, and he ran 3rd behind Next Out Winner Percolate, and he didn't have a good trip that day either. So a very trouble-prone horse. I feel he's one of these guys, especially if you get something like 12-1, he's a must-use because the price is going to be right. And I think it's a very competitive race. I mean, I made a case for probably, how many horses in this race? We got 11. I made a case for about 8 of them. So really strong cases. So this is a spread race for me. I like other horses that you folks like, so I'll add another one just because we haven't talked about this horse. General Mathis.
That's what I was going to bring up.
He was a little bit too far back last time. This horse closes, but you know what? He had to steady early, sort of lost position, went 1.25 miles. He's cutting back in distance. He's 2 for 2. So even a horse like him, I think it's a very competitive race.
I'm with you there. And if you watch that replay, like you said, all kinds of trouble at the start.
Yep.
The one horse was pulling and rank, and all of a sudden he's 20 lengths back early or whatever, and ran on well. So that it's a wide open race. One more point, because Skip and we were talking about 7 wonders. Frankie Dettori has surprised me how aggressive he is as a rider, and not in a bad way. I didn't realize it, especially we've discussed this before. He's won about half of his races down the hill thus far. And he takes it to him, boy. He doesn't mind sending a horse that doesn't look like a send horse on paper.
I think he really believes in his finishing ability too, and when you feel like you can, if you're in contention, keep yourself out of traffic a lot of the time. I completely agree with you. I didn't think that he was such a good speed rider, getting horses out of the gate, getting them to settle and getting everything out of them. And like you said, ones that aren't always fitting the template of that. Yeah. This is a cool race, man. I mean, look at that. We said Silver Surfer has run on heavy yielding, soft, good, and firm turf courses too. For a horse who's only run 8 times, how about that?
Well, it doesn't get easier in race 9, 6.5 furlong starter allowance. Maddie, what do you like in here? Hopefully, you're shaking your head. Maybe you have an opinion. I don't here in race number 9.
I have an opinion, and I actually have a relatively strong opinion on a price horse. I like Teton Valley in this race. Yeah, Gino and I think we handicap pretty similar.
We do. Yeah, we do.
Last time we were on here talking about Golden Gate, we had a lot of the same opinions. In a lot of cases, we were correct, luckily. Teton Valley last time out, I mean, he's awful on turf, and they ran him on the grass, 5 furlongs. It says here he checked the 3/8 pole. he did check at the 3/8 pole. He wasn't winning that race, and the betting public was spot on. He was 30-1, should have been, even though he ran at this type of level. I think that was just a total prep race. I think Steve Knapp says, okay, let's run him in this race, get him a run. It's been a while. It's a 5-furlong race. We pick up a little $250 check or whatever it is, and we move along. And what I really like about this horse, yes, he's coming off a layoff last time out of over a year, so you have to sort of scratch your head and go, where are we at? Is this horse going to come back the same? But you look at some of his races before the layoff, and they were fantastic races, and he doesn't need the lead. He likes to be close. I think he's best when he's on the lead, but I don't think he's one that necessarily needs it. He seems like one of these horses that you don't want him 2-3 lengths behind. You want him on the lead or a half length back or within a length. So I think with a good speed rider and Edwin Maldonado, he's going to get him there if he breaks well, and we'll see what happens. But I like Teton Valley at 8-1 right away. He really stood out off the page for me. And I don't know if this is a tough race to single a horse, but if you want to try to single a price, maybe you take a shot with a horse like him and cross your fingers and hope for the best,
I think I'm going to play one where I do that, Matt. I'm so many of the same things that you said. Like, you look at him, obviously the turf race wasn't great, but yeah, he did have a little bit of trouble, and he kind of came on again after. Like, he was never winning that race, but it wasn't like he just stopped at all after that.
And he was quarter horsed out of the gate like they were riding at Los Al at night. I mean, He was as hard as you could get. Did check some, and like Gino, you guys mentioned, he didn't quit. That 6 is a little bit deceiving there. It clearly needs the race.
So he's a major pace factor that can also sit and pass horses. He's going to go second start off that 13-month layoff, and he has a win at 6.5 furlongs. So we know he can get this distance. It's not a problem for him. As Matt was mentioning, look at the races before the layoff. Even in a starter allowance, he runs into Principe Carlo. He's multiple grade 2 placed. Essential Wager is 3 for 4. That's a grade 3 winner. American Theorem, that's a grade 1 winner, multiple graded stakes placed. Again, they're not graded stakes races, but he's running into graded stakes horses in those races. And those are the types of horses I like playing because it's a little hidden. It's a little sneaky. Everybody doesn't look at first glance and think those races are great because they're allowance races, but we know that those horses came back and have run really, really well. I think he takes a massive step forward in here. I am going to play one ticket where I think I single him and get bold. The other horse who I like a little bit is the 7, Lovesick Blues. Look at his last dirt race. So he's been on the turf now for 5 in a row. Last time he's on the dirt, he runs 4th behind Straight No Chaser and Traeger. Traeger has won back-to-back races really impressively, like looking like a legitimate stakes horse. Straight No Chaser is grade 3 placed. He just won a second level allowance at Oaklawn Park with 101 buyer speed figure.
By a city block. Yeah.
Absolutely dominated. And he's just been on turf since then and not even running that bad on the turf. But I do think the return to the dirt might wake him up a little bit. Lots of 4, lots of 7 for me in this race.
Skipper 4-7 there. No one's talked about the outside horse, Clem Levine, who seemed to have found a new life. It has actually been running against some very tough company. Are you using Clem Levine in the scenario here, or are you with Gino and Maddie with Teton Valley?
I like both of those. I like Teton Valley. I like Lovesick Blues. That last race was really good. That Lamplighter Jack is a win machine from Gulfstream Park and came here and won wire to wire that day on the grass in that last race. So I got to use Lovesick Blues. I know it was only, a week and a half ago or a week ago. So I got to use those. The other one I want to mention 2 more that I'm going to use. I'm going to use Next Revolt. This horse had trouble last time. There's a little more speed in here. I think this horse is going to get a good trip. 2 back, it was on the rail going a mile. Then it ran good 3 back. This horse is sharp. I didn't like the trip it got last time. Joe Don Looting went to the front and just kept going. So the 2 is going to be on my ticket. And I got to use Clem Levine. Baraccio, he's been on fire. You better take a look at everything he sends out because I'm telling you, they're running. So I'm all 2, 4, 7, and 9 for me.
And it's hard to believe that Steve Miotti is 1 for 32 at the meet, talking about a terrific trainer of Lovesick Blues. So he's due to catch some fire. All right, we move on to the 10th race. I can't wait for everybody's opinion on this race. The water gets even deeper in the Grade 3 Monrovia coming down the hill, Gino. What are your thoughts in here?
So this will be the final race for Legs Galore. There was a cool article in the DRF talking about how D'Amato sort of looks at this race as maybe a passing of the torch from Legs Galore, who's been very good down the hill and a good sprinter, to a horse like Amy C, who's now been really good down the hill. And those two will be major players in here. The horse who I'm super intrigued by, though, is a horse who's coming off a bit of a layoff. That's the 3 Canoodling, who I think should really get a good trip in here. Now, Canoodling hasn't run since May of 2022, so that's a bit of a layoff we're talking about, right? We're coming up on almost a year. I think one of the easier racetracks to come back off a long layoff is the downhill turf course. It really does help you being downhill. It sort of takes a little bit of it away. And if you think about it for Canoodling will probably be a little more off the pace in here, not having to carve it out up front. Canoodling has some legitimate excuses for a couple of those poor performances. This is a horse who wasn't beaten all that much against Grade 1 company in the Gamely last time out. Like, was really not far behind that group. 2 starts back is a Grade 3 winner. And, so the layoffs, I just think this is a really good spot. I like the cutback. And then, man, there are some fun prices, even if you don't want to go with the obvious horses. Like, no problem with the 4, 6, or 7. Like, Tom's Beauty is sharp, stepping up, a little low on figures, but versatile, can go to the lead, 2 back, shoot through from the rail, or sit. Kristen Bosch is kind of sneaky. This horse is proven on the turf. And look at, again, some of the horses that he's faced on the turf. Quattrell, multiple graded stakes winner. Quattrell has gotten really good right now. Rhea Moon is a Grade 1 winner, multiple graded stakes winner. So this is fun race if you don't like the favorites, and if you do, they're not bad either. Like, you can make strong cases for them. This is like a really cool betting race, a really cool pick 6, pick 4 race. Lots of 3, 4, 6, and 7 are like the fun prices that I'm going to try to figure out how to use.
I think, Skipper, you could make a case for every horse in this race. And the funniest thing is, one of our favorites of all time is Legs Galore. I hope she runs well. And maybe she just needed the break. I think she's past her prime a little bit here, and she used to be the queen of the turf course at Santa Anita. But what are your thoughts here?
I have a strong opinion in here, and I know this race is really tough, but I really like Amy C a lot. This could be the new queen of the hill. She's 3 for 3 on it, and she's done it very impressively all 3 times. And I think we did a show the first time she was going to run down the hill. And I think Gino and I said, this is a type of a mare that will love this downhill turf course, cutting back from the mile and the 16th. She just seemed like she really would fit this. I like her an awful lot. I might single her here, and on one ticket, I definitely will. I got to use Canoodling on another ticket. Canoodling's a win machine. I've been lucky with her before, and so I'm 3-8 on one ticket, and I'm singling the 8 on another. I might even throw Big Summer if I'm going to use one more besides Canoodling, but I like Amy C an awful lot in here.
Maddie, your thoughts?
It's pretty funny how racing works sometimes. There are times where you look on paper and it looks like it's pretty formful on paper, and then you see a crazy result. There are other times where you look at races like this and you say, wow, you can make a lot of angles for a lot of different runners, and it ends up being formful. And I'm sort of like Skip here. I just think Amy C is one of these gals that loves the hill. She seems to work out a good trip. She comes from a top outfit, and she's the pick for me. I think she's a really nice mare, a really nice acquisition that Phil D'Amato's gotten here. And like we all know, when you love the hill, you love the hill. And that can be said for Amy C. And that's why I'm also in agreement with you, Skip, about Big Summer. She loves the hill. She loves everything. I mean, she just runs a race every single time, and she's turned out to be a really cool mare. So I'm going to use sort of the horses that seem to be the specialists down the hill and hope that they can pull through for us.
I'm kind of along your lines too, you guys. On the tip sheet, I went 8-3, and those are my top 2. A wild long shot, it probably has no chance because it goes, it's everything we've ever talked about, is Elm Drive, the rail. for one reason only. I go back to the workouts and it has nothing to do with time. But if you go back and watch the April 3rd workout, you talk about a horse who worked 58 and 4 and didn't move a muscle. Rail never ran on turf, but it's just interesting that D'Amato ends up here, probably gets swallowed up. But I'm with you guys on 8. I think Canoodling is very talented, and Amy C is clearly the one to beat. All right, let's move on to the Santa Anita Oaks. Who are we with? Skipper there? What are you looking at here in the Oaks? Is it all about, I don't know, is it Faiza or Faiza?
Ask Gino.
I think it's Faiza.
Don't ask me.
The announcer says it's Faiza, so it's Faiza.
Yeah. Faiza. She obviously is very talented and very good, but I know it was a 2-horse race, and I'm not going or picking this horse off that 2-horse race. I'm picking it off that last work on April 2nd. Venganza, I'm telling you, this horse is bred to be a good one. There's some really well-bred fillies in here, but I love the breeding on her. I'm not going off that maiden breaker. It's a 2-horse race. It was basically a workout, but that April 2nd workout was unbelievable. And she's got her ears straight forward flopping. She's loving what she's doing. She went 59 and 1. And the thing that impressed me the most about that work, she worked with Royal Ship.
I think that was the 27th one, but she did work with Royal Ship. It was awesome. Yeah.
And Royal Ship is an unbelievable workhorse. I mean, that horse is just a freak in the mornings. And she handled Royal Ship. I know Royal Ship's getting a little older, but still, that was very, very impressive. I know Pratt stays with the other horse, but my top play is the 1. I'm also, maybe I'll single the 1 on 1 ticket. I got to use the 3, Clearly Unhinged. This horse is bred to get better as they go farther out of Into Mischief or by Into Mischief. Michael McCarthy, that horse won very nicely first out with a buyer of 89. That's the top in the race, It worked real good on, I think it was the first also. Faiza got to use. I'm using those 3 with my top play being the 1 Venganza.
All right, Matty, what are you thinking here? 9 to 5 on Faiza. I'm actually 5 deep in here, Matt. What are you looking at? Is it Faiza or are you looking elsewhere as well?
I would use her on tickets, but I am looking elsewhere. I will say about her in her defense, she's one of these fillies that she just sort of gets the job done. She's not flashy about anything.
Yeah.
So you always try to beat her, right?
Yeah,
you always
exactly.
beat her because you always say, well, somebody's going to outkick her. And you want to see a horse, and I know this is a bit of an extreme. We like to see horses like Flightline that just dominate their competition. So I think that she's better than maybe some may give her credit for. Her speed figures indicate that maybe this, year's rendition of 3-year-old fillies in Southern California, possibly not the strongest group, at least right now. But I'm going to pick window shopping in this race. So I'm using the other Mandela and Gino.
You and me again, Matty. Yep.
Yeah. Now here's the thing about this filly. Last time out, it was an off the turf race. You don't know all these horses that she ran against might be turf horses. She won by 16. It was just an absolute domination. And that's not the reason I'm picking her, by the way.
Well, he was looking for a flight line, and he found a flight line.
Right.
There you go.
Exactly.
What I really liked about
American Pharaoh.
Well, she tried to imitate her dad, American Pharaoh, and the reason I liked the race is because she was geared down and she had something left. I would even go out to say, you know what? I don't know who she beat. We all say who'd they beat. I don't know if she really beat anything, but she was geared down. She's got royal pedigree, and that first race, even though she ran 6th, 1, Richard Mandela doesn't crank him up first out. And 2, she was running on and she was green and she had problems. So that tells me when you look at the last race, she took the lead. And this is something that sometimes I try to play against horses. Last race, she took the lead and she got everything her own way by the half-mile pole and it was over. So she got everything her own way. But that first race shows me that she has the ability to get a weird trip and still run on, or maybe there are horses in front of her and she's not handed a lead and she's able to run on. So I think there's room for her to grow. And I feel that maybe if she does run as fast as she can and she runs her very best in lifetime start number 3, she's got a shot to win.
And the one thing about that too, when you watch that race of window shopping, like you said, first time out, she had all kinds of trouble.
Dude, she got crushed on both sides at that debut.
But the second time out, she was very professional. She was not on the lead, was down on the inside, relaxed behind horses, was not pulling anything. Just at about maybe the half-mile pole, kind of took the lead on her own because she was just that much more talented. And then I wrote very professional in there, but it was interesting the improvement from race 1 to race 2, at least as far as trouble and then just acting like she's done that, been there before, Gino.
Yeah, and even in that debut, a lot of it wasn't her fault. She gets crushed on both sides, so she's last of 10. She moves to the inside, but then she just runs into a ton of traffic down there on the inside in a turf race going a mile on the grass. It's a little better than that race may look. The winner came back to win their next start. She was off from November to March. She comes back, and like Matt said, when races are taken off the turf sometimes too, you don't know how strong they are when they're on the dirt for a lot of those horses that may have been intended to be on a different surface, but she's bred beautifully. Her dam was a grade 3 winner and won 3 of 6 starts. We know American Pharaoh. And man, when she came back, that was a really nice race. I love the way she sat. I like that she's got foundation with 2-mile races, right? It's not, that's the only thing that worries me for a horse. Like, I think Vengaza super talented, but going from 6 to a mile and a 16th without like another race in between, sometimes that's a little bit to ask for this, for this filly. She's got 2-mile races that she can put together. I've obviously had great success playing against FISA. And so I'm going to do it one more time because you know what, if the definition of insanity isn't doing the same thing over and over again, then I'm not insane. I'm going to chuck FISA. I think there are 3 or 4 horses with really fun upside in here. We mentioned window shopping, clearly unhinged, could absolutely be a really nice horse. I thought the March 12th work, which I could see was a really nice work with a good gallop out after kind of pushed through at the rail. I don't know if she needs the lead. And at least she's got a 6.5 race too, which is a little bit more foundation stretching out. What's wrong with either of the 7 or the 8? Like Princess Bettina, we've only seen her on the dirt really early on in her career when she was sprinting. She's a way better horse now since they've stretched out. Maybe it's the turf, but she's also better going longer. I think she can sit a pretty nice trip. She got the lead last time, but that's another one of those Dettori rides where he just got aggressive on a horse that doesn't need the lead. And Tell Me No Lies loomed up and was just a little bit short because that was Tell Me No Lies' first race since the Breeders' Cup. If she has just a little more bottom, can she turn the tables on FISA here?
And she's a grade 1 winner.
Right.
I think you can make enough cases for 3 or 4 others for me that I'm going to play this race and toss FISA and probably use some of those others that we mentioned. I think maybe just one of them takes another big step forward and they might be better than FISA, who is really solid. And maybe she's just better than this group, but I think there might be like an A in this group somewhere.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm 5 deep here with the Tell Me No Lies, and then the others with the huge upside, including Vengaza, window shopping, and clearly unhinged. So we all just basically put FISA in the winner's circle at 4 to 5.
Hey, Cappy, can I add something real quick about clearly unhinged? I just want to make a note. I think she's as talented in terms of raw ability as anybody in this race.
No doubt.
But the one concern I have with her is she's only got 1 sprint. She's sort of speedy. And it wouldn't surprise me. I could be totally wrong. She could win this race. We could say, wow, this is a really nice filly. But she could be one of these fillies that at some point she does take to mile and a 16 type of racing. But maybe right now it's a lot to ask. She's just very speedy. And I thought, do I pick her? Do I use her? And that's the concern I have, and that's something to think about. Some horses like this, it takes them a little time, and I just wonder if she's a little bit speedy right now, but as she gets older, maybe she'll relax and not necessarily stalk because she's very fast just naturally, but maybe she will get the distance a little better with a little more time. I think this is a lot to ask, but she's on my radar as a really nice filly, and I don't think that was a fluke last race. I think she's really nice. But is this a lot to ask of her? I think it for her, I think it could be. I think she still needs a little more. She's still learning what she's doing.
Well, interesting about that. We'll touch on this for 1 second, Skip, and then we'll move on with Clearly Unhinged. First of all, she beat a Baffert who was odds on. Second of all, she did draw the rail, so she kind of had to go. Third off, Michael McCarthy, who's a good friend of Skip's, he doesn't win first time out too much, and he's pretty conservative. So for him to jump into a grade 2 and start number 2, he's got to be thinking we've got a lot under the hood here, Skip.
100%. 100%. He could win first time out like he did, but I don't think he was expecting to win first time out that day. And just the way that she did it with that speed figure, going 6.5, coming back to work good. He's got a nice filly on his hands here.
All right. Well, we've got one leg left there, Maddie. So we'll start with you. We're going a mile on the turf, an allowance race, and full field here again to close it out. Hopefully we're all alive for stacks of cash. What are you looking at here in the finale?
Well, I'm sort of how Gino is with the favorite in the last race as he was with Fiza. I think Anna Gloss at number 3 is going to get bet. Phil D'Amato horse, I'm chucking her off everything. I think she's very average. I think she's a grinder, and I think she's extremely beatable. So she's not on many tickets at all as far as I'm concerned. I do think the Sadler acquisition, Ancient Peace, I think she's a really nice filly. I hate the post 11, but I really like this filly. I think she's working lights out. I've been watching her work. So she's going to be my top pick in the race. And another one at a little bit of a price is number 4, Ultimate High, who second time off a year layoff here. She's one that sometimes gives herself a little bit too much to do, but I thought her first race was encouraging. Her better runs before the layoff, they came at 2 turns. She was going down the hill. We know that routers do like going down the hill, but I think that was a good starting spot for her this year, and she's one with Joe Bravo that might be able to really run a good race for Carla Gaines. So 4 and 11, those 2 are my top 2 picks in the race.
All right, Gino. Maddie says Anaglasia, chuck her out.
We're on the same page again. No threes for me. And I think there's a little bit of other speed in here also that may make things difficult, like the 7 Precious Baby with the blinkers on, stretching back out from a dirt sprint, I think will be forwardly placed. And you'll have to see a couple of the horses that are hooked way towards the outside try to get at least aggressive to get some positioning in there. Horses for sure that are going to be on my tickets in the last. The 8 Scarabia, who is 0 for 14 on the turf, but and is 0 for the last 10 overall. But in those 10 races, 6 of them were graded stakes races. 2 of them were stakes races. So that's 8 of the 10 that were stakes. There were 2 races at this level, and one of them was a 3rd place finish. And I think this is the level where this horse fits, could cut back and just have a little bit more late punch. The one horse, watch the race from Ireland. It was very good. Dettori jumps aboard from Patty Gallagher. First start since September, was tracking in 5th, was like a couple lengths off, was looking for room, had to wait a little bit and shift out to the 3 path and in between horses. Just missed 2nd that day. I thought it was good. And the one other horse to mention for me would be the 8 or the 12 or the 10, excuse me, Shocking Gray. Shocking Gray is an honest Calbred that steps up, and this horse really has not done much wrong. The last effort was like sneaky good. Visually, this horse is impressive. She'll have to take one more step forward, but she's got some ability there. And Hernandez jumps aboard. I think she's live in here also. Very fun way to end the mandatory pick 6 sequence. Lots of ways to go, and I don't love a horse who I think is going to be a short price or one of the short prices. So that's a great feeling about a race.
Skip, that was the horse before Gino mentioned. I was going to ask you about if you were using a Shocking Gray. When you say sneaky good, that horse had nowhere to go, was so much the best last time out, got to run about 50 yards and just absolutely exploded. Is that a Shocking Gray on your ticket for red hot Jeff Mullins there, Skipper?
Yes, Shocking Gray is. I'm going to spread in here. I think it's very tough. I do like the 1, Corporal Violet. I like that Frankie Dettori gets aboard this horse. One of the workouts, I can't remember which date it was. I think it was February 15th. I like the way that it worked that day. First time Lasix, and the horse must be live if Frankie's jumping aboard. Ultimate High ran sneaky good last time. Kind of hugging the rail, squeezed at the start, taken back, way back, hugged the rail, finished nice, kind of angled out, and the horse that it was trying to get by kept angling out too. So it just made it was sneaky good. I got to use Ultimate High. Unfaithful Ways have to use. This had a good work on February 23rd. The horse likes to win. It likes Santa Anita, likes the distance. Shocking Grays on my ticket. As you just said, I know it's a Calbred going against Open now, but that was very, very impressive. I like the Sadler acquisition, like Matt was saying, Ancient Peace. That horse run real impressive and came back with a weird work, but it was really good. You want to talk about the horse throwing its head around. It kind of was like angled and sideways, but that horse just finished strong and had a good gallop out with that work. And I'm going to use Chloe's Crown on the outside. They finally stretch this horse out, which this horse wants to do. And Exit Soul came back and won up north at Golden Gate. I got to use Chloe's Crown too. So I'm 1, 4, 8, or 1, 4, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I almost got half the field. So I'm sure somebody else will come up and get me.
Well, as we went through this whole sequence, we'll go around everybody real quick. And if you have a best play or any last thoughts, we say this a lot, but this has the look of a pick six that could pay. Well, often we say that and it pays, pennies, but this looks like one. It's tough to find a single in this sequence. It looks like we're all, which we do, we take our stands, and there's no chalk singling in this group. Gino, your final thoughts on the day if you have a best bet too.
Yeah, the one that Matt and I both like in race number 9, Teton Valley, I think is going to run a big one. So if you're putting together a pick six and you were looking for a nice horse to at least include on your ticket, this horse should be in the 5-1 plus range. That's one of those horses that you want in there. So if you have a few extra bucks when you're building your ticket, throw the number 4 Teton Valley in race 9.
Maddie, your thoughts and great info on the Golden Gate shipper, especially along with everything else you brought.
I would love to make Clovis sort of my play of the day, but I'm not going to. And I'm not going to make Teton Valley the play of the day. The only reason is because Gino is, and I'm not going to steal his thunder. So I'll make window shopping the alternative play of the day. I think he's got a really good shot in the Santa Anita Oaks. And I have to say, well done to the entire team at Santa Anita. This is a great sequence. And if I hit this thing, there's a lot of A, free golf games, and 2, free baseball games in my future that I can use with these winnings. So it's
beautiful.
It's going to be a good sequence. And from a person that's not going to be at Santa Anita, but I'll be watching from high atop the grandstand at Golden Gate. It's going to be a fun day for California racing all around.
Sure is. Skipper, last thoughts. Amy C is maybe your single, and good luck to the Kings tonight.
Yeah, Amy C is going to be my best bet. I just think she's the new queen of the hill, and until she loses, I'm going to keep riding her. So Amy C for me, and yes, the big game tonight. I'm ready. I'm going to start stretching now that we're off, and get ready.
All right, guys. Thanks for your time. First post noon on Saturday, 12 races, and then of course we've got other preps around the country and the Masters as well. So, gentlemen, Matt, feel better. Skipper, go Kings.
Good luck,
Gino,
everyone.
We'll talk to you in the morning, buddy. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, Matt, I wanted to say you do a great job up at Golden Gate. Keep up the great work, buddy.
Thank you,
That's
Skip.
right.
I appreciate that. It's good to chat with you always, buddy.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks.